Hello guys, it's Joanne here. Welcome again to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to cut this stylish bustier blouse with a scallop neckline. If you're interested in something like this, kindly stick around and watch this video to the end. Also like and share this video, and please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. So without further ado, let's get right into the tutorial. So guys, for this tutorial, I'm going to be making use of these two fabrics here. So this one here is the chantilly lace fabric, and you'll be needing like 2 yards for this style. So this is how this style is. This is going to be a two-piece top. To make this style, you're going to have to sew two tops, okay? So this one will be on the inside, while the Ankara fabric is going to be one on top of the chantilly lace. Okay, hope you're clear on that. So for this Ankara fabric, you're going to be needing like 2 yards. If you're on a plus size, you'll be needing like 2.5 yards for this style. So guys, I'm going to drop this once here and start with the drafting process now. So I'm going to use this pattern paper for the drafting parts, and note that I am going to be making the cutting for the off shoulder, which is the one I'm going to be using the Ankara fabric. Okay, so the off shoulder bustier is what I'm about drafting here on this pattern paper. Now to begin, you're going to have to start the necessary measurements. So from the top of this pattern paper, I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch. So after this, I'm going to use my straight rule to connect this point into a straight line. Okay, so whatever measurement I'm going to be taking will start from this line. All right, I hope you're clear on what I am doing here. Now, after getting this line, the next thing I'm going to do would start taking the vertical measurement. Now, to take the vertical measurement, if we were to make a normal bustier blouse with a shoulder, would have begun that measurement from this line. But since I'm going to be making an off shoulder blouse, I'm going to have to minus like 4 inches, or I'll just go up by 4.5 inches. Okay, so you can go up by 4 inches, 4.5 inches, 5 inches, or even 6 inches, depends on how wide you want your off shoulder to be, or it depends on how open you want your off shoulder to be. So from that line that I took out the shoulder measurements, which we don't need for this tutorial, I came down by the bust point line. So the bust point line I'm working with is 9.5 inches. As you can see, I took out the 4.5 inches, which landed on this start point line here. Now I came down by 9.5 inches, which is the bust point line. So I have drawn that line here. As you can see, the second line here is the bust point line. Now the next measurement I'm going to be taking will be the under bust measurement. So I'm going to now have to off the shoulder again to come down by 13.5 inches, which is the under bust measurement. So if you want to take your own measurements, please ensure you do the same thing I am doing here. All right, so now I'm going to connect this point here like this into a straight line. So as you guys can see now, I have connected the under bust measurements. So this is the start point line, this is the bust point line, this is the under bust line. Now the next measurement I'm going to be taking vertically would be the hip line, okay, also the blouse length. Now placing my tape back 4.5 inches on that start point line, I came down by 25 inches. All right, I came down by 25 inches. That's the blouse length. So for you, I don't know what your blouse length would be. Just measure where you want to have your blouse length, but 25 inches is considered as the standard measurement for a blouse. So now I have drawn that line, as you can see. So I noticed I did not take the waist measurements, but I'm going to come to that. So I'm labeling each of these lines here, which is the bust line, the under bust line, and this is the hip line, also the blouse lines. Now I'm going to take the waist measurement, now the half length. Okay, so now placing back the 4.5 inches on this start point line, I'm going to indicate the half length, which is 16 inches. Okay, so I'm indicating the half length, that is 16 inches for this measurement. please take your own measurements. You may not have the same measurement I'm using here. So I'm going to connect this line. As you can see, I have done that. Now, I'm going to label this as the waistline. Okay, so having taken these vertical measurements, next measurement I'm going to be taking would be the nipple to nipple measurement. So nipple to nipple measurement is also the difference from one bust span to the other. So for this measurement I'm using is 7.5. I divided 7.5 by 2 and I imputed that measurement. So take your own measurements, divide whatever you have by 2 and impute your own measurements. As you can see, I imputed the measurements on each of these lines here to help me get a straight line. So I've gotten this line here, as you can see. Now, next thing I'm going to do would be to start taking in the darts. I'm going to be contouring the under bust. Okay, so come to the under bust line, and on the side here, I'm going out by 2 inches from that straight line I made for the dart line. Okay, now on the center, still from that straight line, I came in by 0.75. Now this depends on the measurement I'm using. I'm working with a bust of 38 inches. So if you're working with a bust of 38 inches, you're good to go with this measurement. Okay, but if you have a bigger bust from 40 inches, please ensure you use 2.025. okay, and if your bust is like 44, ensure you use 2.5. Then on the center part, if you're using the same measurement, then you're going to use 0.75 for the center dart intake. And if your bust is smaller, like if your bust is 35, you can use 0.5. If your bust is bigger, you can use 1 inch on the center. Hope you're clear. Now, having done this, I'm going to use my French curve to connect from this dart intake back to the bust line. Okay, back to the bust point line. Ensure that you place your curve rule or your French rule like that it doesn't come out too sharp around the bust point area. As you can see, I try to eliminate any pointiness around the bust point area. So guys, this is looking very neat. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing on this center part here. So for this point, you ensure you don't make it too curvy around the center area. Okay, use a slight curve on the center part, as you can see me do here. All right, so having done this, I have taken the darts on this part here. Okay, so guys, I hope you're clear on what I'm doing here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to come back here on this start point line, because I cannot leave it like this. We have to also take in the dart around this upper part. Okay, so to do that, you're going to have to take your around shoulder measurements. We are sewing an off shoulder, so you're going to measure your round shoulder as it is shown on the screen here. So that is how you're going to be taking the measurement. So whatever you have, you're going to take out 16 inches. So you know that we have 8 inches on one part of the sleeve and 8 inches on the other part. That will be what you use to sew your sleeve. So take it out, which is a total of 16 inches. Now whatever you have left after taking out your 16 inches, divide that measurement by 4, and from the center part here, take in that measurement. So what I have is 6 inches after I did all the calculations. Now from that point I imputed, I'm going to connect to meet to this bust line. Hope we are clear on this. So you're going to use, if you can use your straight rule or a very slight curve around this part. You don't want to have a curve around this area at all. Okay, so guys, watch what I am doing here carefully. If you don't understand, you can rewatch this part very well so you get what I'm doing here. Now for the center, from this part here, from this center line here, we are going to come in by 1/2 inch. Okay, this measurement is standard for all sizes. Now I just connected this back to that 1/2 inch point. Okay, I connected it to meet to the bust line, and I'm going to blend around here. After connecting, taking in the dart on this upper part, it was a bit sharp, so have to blend that part and also blend the center area, as you can see. All right, so having done this, we are through taking in the darts. Now I'm going to start taking in the circumference, the bust circumference, the under bust circumference. So for the bust circumference, you're going to divide your bust by 4 and impute whatever you have on your pattern. Now on the under bust circumference, divide that measurement by 4 as well and impute on the under bust line. Now replace your dart intake. Okay, replace whatever you have here or for your dart on the under bust line. After taking in your measurement, please replace your dart. Now on the waistline, still take your waist measurement. Now after taking your waist measurement, divide it by 4 and impute. Replace your dart also on the waistline. Okay, after replacing your dart, go up to the hip line or the blouse line, taking your hip measurement. Divide your hip by 4 and impute. Now replace your dart on the hip part. Okay, now after replacing your dart, you're going to have to extend that measurement by 1 inch. Add to that measurement. Okay, add about 1 inch or 0.75 to the measurement you have around your hip line. Hope you understand. Now I'm going to be connecting each of those points here. As you can see, I'm going to connect from the waistline with a curve. Okay, with a slight curve. From the hip line, I'm going to be connecting to the waistline like so. Then I'm going to use my straight rule and connect from the waistline to the under bust line. So after this, for the upper part, I did not replace the dart intake around this part. Okay, so normally I would have just drawn that line straight, but I have to take you guys through every process. So replace this dart around this part like this. Okay, so what I had there was about 2.025 thereabouts. 2.075, sorry, so I just imputed that measurement. As you can see, this is tilted to this side. I'm not going to use it. I'm simply going to rule this line straight. So when I'm finished sewing, I'm going to actually cut out this part. That will be for the armhole, but for this pattern paper, I'm not going to be cutting out the armhole for this part. Now on the bust point line, we are going to be taking in the bust dart. Okay, so come down from the bust point line by 1 inch. Okay, if you like, you can come down by 2 inches. It depends on what you want. So 1 inch was totally fine by me, and connect back to your bust point line around that nipple to nipple area. Okay, so for this part, I'm going to be closing up the darts. All right, so you want to close your dart, because if you don't close it, you have shortage around this part. So close your darts as I'm doing like this. Okay, find a way to close your darts. Now I'm going to use my straight rule now to connect this back. After that, you see I have like a little shortage around that part, which you really need to close your dart to avoid that shortage around that part. So guys, we are basically through with the front part. So on this down part, I'm going to extend this measurement. Okay, so extend the measurement on this down part by like 1.5 inches. For what I used was 2 inches, but I ended up using 1.5 inches. So when we get to that part, I'm going to be showing you guys why we are extending this measurement. That's why you need to watch this video to the end. Okay, also watch the sewing part so that you see every step how I achieve this beautiful style. Okay, and also connect your darts like I've done here, and on the side part connect as well. So now I'm finished, I'm through with this front part. I'm going to be drafting the back part, same on this pattern paper. So I'm simply going to take my straight rule and make a straight line on this part here. Okay, so I'm going to be using this other part for the back drafting. To do that, this line I just drew would be the center back. Okay, so this part will be the center back. I'm going to simply come down from the top of this pattern paper by half inch, same way I did for the front part. This would also be my start point line. Hope you understand what I'm doing here. So I'm going to take my straight rule now to connect this into a straight line. Now I'm going to minus the shoulder measurement, which is 4.5 inches, to come down by the chest line measurement. So the chest line I'm using for this tutorial for this measurement is 8 inches. Okay, so take your own chest line measurement. Then I did the same thing, take out 4.5 inches and came down by the half length. So the back half length is 15 inches for this one. This measurement, the back half length is 15 inches. So for the front half length was 16 inches, the back is 15 inches. Take note of that. Okay, now for the blouse length, I took 24 inches. Note that the front length is 25 inches while the back length is 24 inches. You know, I took in the bust dart, so you have the back length shorter than the front length by 1 inch. If I had taken in the dart by 2 inches, the front dart by bust dart by 2 inches, I would have minus 2 inches from the back length. I hope you're clear on this. Please take note of that as well. Now for the waistline, I'm coming in here by 0.75 inches. That will be to eliminate zipper bulge. Okay, so after fixing your zipper, you don't have it puffing out around your waist, your back waistline. Now I'm connecting this back to the length and to the chest line like so. So guys, I'm going to shade this part here to remind me to cut this out later. Now I'm going to also impute the dart intake for these back bodies. Okay, this back pattern, taking your dart, divide that measurement by 2 from the chest line, impute, and do the same thing on the waistline and on the blouse length, which is also the hip line, and use your straight rule to connect this into a straight line. Now after this, I am going to take in the dart on the waistline. I'm going to come in by half inch on both sides. Okay, now I'm going to connect this back to the hip line, connect this other side as well to the hip line, and I'm going to connect back to the chest line as well. So connect it back to the chest line like this, as you can see. So guys, having done this, I'm going to start with the necessary body measurements. So divide your bust measurement by 4 and impute on the chest line. Then on the waistline, you're going to start from this part you came in by 0.75 and taking your waist measurement, divide by 4. Then impute your, taking your dart, the dart you took out on the waistline, you have to replace it. So what I had was 1 inch for the dart. I replaced that dart intake on the waistline. Then on the hip line, I divided my hip measurement by 4 and I added 1 inch to the hip measurement, like what I did for the front. Now on this part here, I am going to be taking in the shoulder measurement like what I did for the front, which is 6 inches. Now from that point here, I am going to mark the neck measurements. So to mark the neck measurements, I'm going to have to connect the armhole first back to the chest line like this. Okay, from that point I marked earlier, I connected the armhole back to that point I marked there. That's for the around shoulder measurements. Now I'm going to minus 4.5 inches to get the neck depth. Okay, so I use 6 inches for the neck depth. If you want your own to be very open, then you know what you do. You can come down by like 7 or 8 inches. So 6 inches was totally fine by me, and I used my cuff rule to connect from this 6 inches point back to the around shoulder measurement. Okay, so guys, as you can see, I'm basically through with this back part, as you can see here. So I'm going to be making some alteration as we go, but that is how it's going to be for now. So once we get to that part, you're going to see every part, every bit of it. Now on the back length, I'm going to be extending the measurement as well, like I did for the front. Okay, so for the back length, you're going to come down here by 1.5 inches or 2 inches. Like I said, I ended up using 1.5 inches, and I'm going to be connecting this into a straight line like this. Okay, then also connect the side as well. So guys, I'm through drafting both the back and the front, as you can see here. So I'm going to be cutting out this pattern. Please, as I'm cutting out, follow the way I am cutting out this pattern and do the same thing as well. All right. Now this is what I have, and I'm going to cut out this bust darts, so I can, when you're cutting your bust dart out, please don't cut everything completely out. Okay, now I'm going to be closing this bust dart like this. I'm going to permanently close it like this. This is going to be permanently closed. All right, so taking your masking tape and place it this way. With this, you have closed your bust dart. All right, so now back to this back part. I'm going to be cutting out like this. Cut out the zipper bulge like so, and the neckline. As you can see, this is what I have. I'm going to be making an alteration on this back part around the neckline, but let me show you guys how the front part looks like after I was done cutting out. So I'll use these ones here to cut on the fabric. All right, so I'm not going to alter the front, I'm only going to alter the back part. Now for this back part, I'm going to be making an alteration on the neck area. You know, we are going to have a scallop neckline for both the front and the back, but for this pattern paper, we are going to be altering on the front first. Okay, now to do that, you have to measure from your neckline, from the top of your neckline to like 0.75 or 1 inch. For me, I took 1 inch. Okay, now curve from the center back to that 1 inch point, and also make a curve around here. Do the same thing, come down from this part by 0.75 or 1 inch. So for me, I had to eyeball this other part. All right, so yeah guys, this is what I have. So as you can see, this is looking very beautiful. Now I'm going to also cut out this part, the part I don't want. I'm going to cut it out. And guys, if you cannot use a free hand, you can get something that can help you connect these points. Okay, can help you connect this scallop neckline. Can get a curve or anything that can help you if you cannot use a free hand like I did here. Okay, so watch the way I'm cutting this out. Carefully cut out the part you don't want. So guys, this is what this looks like. This is what it looks like, and I noticed that around this part I needed to curve it a little bit more. So I came down by like 0.2 inches. So you don't want to make it too curvy around that part. Okay, so I'm going to use this to cut on the main fabric, and I'm going to have to transfer that to the main fabric as well. So you're going to watch the way I am going to use this one here, this back part here, add your necessary allowances, because when I drafted this, I did not add the necessary allowances. So this is what I have after I was done cutting this off camera. So I folded the center part, and you see the center part is on fold, as you can see. And I added half inch on the side where I'm going to be joining to the other two halves. Okay, now let me take this out so you guys can see. So this is what this looks like. I added a light fabric, like I added an hairstay to the center part. I had to triple that, the hairstay on the center part from the under bust, as you can see. So for the lining as well, I cut the same thing, and I added a paper stay to the lining. Now for this side here, I added half inch around the part I'm going to be joining to the center, and on the side I added 2 inches. That will be for my stitching allowance. So I'm going to take this off. So for the side here, this is what I did around the bustier area. Okay, so yeah, this is what this looks like. I cut 2 of these. I also cut the lining piece, so I added paper stay to the lining piece as well. For the back part, I used the same pattern paper to cut out. As you can see, I did not add any allowance to the neckline and the armhole, but on the zipper part, I added 1.5 inches. To the side here, I added 2 inches. Okay, now to the down part, I did not add any allowance to it. So guys, I'm going to be stitching all of this in my next tutorial. This video was too long, and we are going to be doing the sewing part in my next video. You want to see every detail, how I am going to be achieving all of that. Stay tuned guys, because it's really going to be very detailed. Thank you so much for sticking around and for watching this video. See you guys in my next one. Bye.